Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and today I'm reviewing Allegory, one of the Calliope games' three-part series that is either currently on Kickstarter, soon to be on Kickstarter, or was on Kickstarter depending on when you watch this video. And Allegory is a set collection bidding game with a few interesting shifts and mechanics, and I'll go into a brief how to play, a brief run through of a few rounds, and then I'll come back to you with my review. So to begin with, I'm going to teach you how to score in Allegory, and the way that works is you're going to be building out different columns of cards throughout the game as the game progresses. And the first thing you're going to score for is whichever of your columns has the lowest sum total. So in this case we have 4 plus 3 minus 3, which is a total of 4. In this column we have 7, and in this column we have 5, so our score is going to be a total of 4 because that is our lowest of the 3 columns. Additionally, you'll get 1 bonus point for every set of 3 identical symbols. In this case we have arrow, arrow, and arrow. That's a set of 3, so that's another point, bringing us to 5. And then if we had another one of these umbrellas, I don't actually know what they're called, but I've been calling them umbrellas. If we had another one of those, then our score would be additional point for 6, but we don't, so we're still at 5. And then finally you score your secret card over here, and this over here, if you can see, is another arrow. And that specifically is going to score 1 point for every column that has an arrow. So in this case, we have 1 and 2 of our columns have an arrow, so that's an additional 2 points for a total score of 7 points. That's how you score Allegory. And so let's go through the let's go through the actual gameplay so you see how it actually plays out in a real game. But that's just how you see the scoring, so you get a feel for what I'm trying to go for as I play. Now in Allegory, you're going to have 2 different ways you play depending on which round you're in. In the first round, you're going to do one thing slightly differently, and in subsequent rounds, you'll change it up a bit. So in the first round, you're going to draw cards equal to the number of players, and players are going to bid on those cards to see what they can get their hands on. So starting with myself, knowing that I have this secret arrow, I won't actually comment, and everyone's going to have their own secret goal, but I don't really particularly care about these as far as arrows go, nor do I have cards in front of me, so all I really care about is obviously I prefer these 2s over this -1. So I'm going to start with a bid of 1, he's going to go to 2, she will go to 4, straight to 4, I'm going to go ahead and pass, and then he will also pass, and then she will bid her 4, and she's going to take that 2 star, which makes me think she might have a star, but I'm not actually sure. And then we'll draw another card, and then she distributes her winning bid, which was actually 5, over the remaining cards. And that's going to be very relevant for the subsequent rounds. So what she's going to do in this case is she's going to drop, I think she's going to drop 3 on these, and then she prefers this one over here. So she's going to drop this over here, incentivizing others to walk away from these cards. And let's start that off. So we'll start with the next round. I'm going to start the round of bidding because she was the one who ended off with the win. And so the player to the left starts with the next round of bidding. And I really don't want that -1. So I'm going to start with a bid of 3. Over here, he's actually not too worried about the -1, and maybe he has a heart. I don't know his logic, but he's going to go ahead and rest and take this card over here. And so when you rest, you take the card with the most chips on it, which means whenever you win a bid, you are sort of incentivizing who's going to walk away with the next bid. We're going to take that card, put it in front, and then we're going to draw another card right away. Now when you rest, you can always take a card with chips on it. You can never take a card that doesn't have any chips on it. And so it's up to her turn. She wanted that too, so she doesn't want to pass just yet. So she's going to up her bid to 4. I am more than happy to pass and take 2 chips for a 2. That's a solid choice for me over there. So I'm going to take this, a new card comes out, and she can go ahead and choose which one she wants. And she, sure enough, is going to go for this one over here. Actually, this is a 3. See, here's the tough part, because there's going to be more opportunities to get these next round. So yeah, she's going to go ahead and take this, even though it's a slightly lower number. Put that over there, replace it with a new card, which is another one of those, and then distribute her chips accordingly. At this point, she probably most likely wants this because it's a higher number, and it's a column she doesn't have yet. So we're going to go ahead and distribute our 2 chips as follows. We'll put 3 on this 2, and 1 on that, which is actually a pretty solid way to start. In my case, I'm going to go straight ahead and just pass right off the bat when I'm starting my next round, because getting 3 chips for a 2 is a solid choice over here. Over here, we're going to draw another card, and we're going to put a 3 over there, and it's up to him over here, and he could pass and take the 3, which is also a solid choice, and so that's what we're going to do over there, passing and taking the 3, and then we'll draw another card, and now she technically wins the bid without even having to worry about anything, and she's going to take that. Ooh, that's a tough one. I think we're going to take the 3, because it more evenly distributes our columns, even though the 4 is better. Okay, but here's where it gets interesting, because when you pass, you can't take any cards that don't have chips on it. which means even though she won this round, next round's more interesting because now it's my turn, and if I pass, I can't take any cards. And so I do want to bid, so I'm going to go ahead and bid because I think I'm going to start with a bid of 4. I really want that 3 over there, so I'm going to bid 4. Over here, he's going to go ahead and bid 5 as well, although in his case, none of these cards are particularly beneficial, the truth is. So it doesn't really matter because none of these will really help him a lot. The blues will help him more, but we'll go ahead and bid 5. She's going to go ahead and she's going to straight up pass, I think, because at this point the bid is pretty large and she's already been spending her chips. So she's going to go ahead and pass, and therefore she can't take any card, unfortunately. And so she's just out, and then it's up to me, and I really don't want to walk away empty-handed this time, so I will up my bid. What is this? We have set 5 over here. I'll go to 6. And then it's up to him. He's going to walk away. None of these cards are particularly beneficial, and so he's just going to walk away. And that leaves me to win. I will take that 3 to augment my columns, so I have more of a spread over there. Put the next one out, and then lay these cards accordingly. Now, the tricky part is I really don't want him to get the green, because the green helps him. For her, basically all of them are helpful to a degree, so I think I'm going to dump most of these. In fact, maybe I'll dump all of them on the 2. Which is a little bit of a risky decision, but it forces one of them to walk away empty-handed and really incentivizes him to overbid to get that 2 to spread out his columns. I'm going to start it off, and it's up to him, and he's actually going to do a simple move and just basically pass and take those because he doesn't want to walk away with spending too much, and the 2 is not bad for him. And you'll keep going on and so forth until you're done. You're basically going to continue this process of bidding, stacking the chips on various cards that you did not get on the remaining cards in order to incentivize the behavior of the next round. And that by far is the most interesting part of Allegory, trying to predict both what is good for yourself as well as what is good for your opponent, and trying to figure out what the right way to stack the chips is in a way that will, well, help you and hurt them the most. And with that, let's get into my review. And so that's Allegory. Set collection, bidding, a few shifts in the way the bidding actually works in terms of placing those coins on other cards and negatively incentivizing others to get it, and then a few different scoring mechanics that will change how and what you collect. And with that, let's go into what I like, didn't like, can see being a problem for others, and then of course my final thoughts. And so to begin with, in terms of what I like the unique bidding system. And when I say unique, it perhaps has been done in other games. I have not yet seen it, but the idea that as you win your bid, you place those coins down on other cards, negatively incentivizing others to take those cards. And it does provide interesting decisions throughout the game, especially depending on the cards that actually are on the table at any given time. I like that the game is pretty simple to learn. I can get this game up and running in about 4 or 5 minutes, probably play through about 1 sample round, maybe 2 sample rounds to give people a good flow of the game. It's almost quicker to show than it is to teach, but very easy to get this one up and running to get others to the table with it. I like that the game has a little bit of screwage, and by a little bit, it will vary, but I like the idea that when you win, you put your coins down on cards that you know someone's going to have to take. This is almost very similar to games like No Thanks, for example. The actual mechanism is different, but the feel is very much the same. It has that aspect of, I have to manage taking something that is not so bad for me. So putting down a stack of coins on a card, let's say I have a lot of blue, putting down a lot of coins on a negative blue card may not be bad for me, but it might be bad for someone else. And I can try to push that to a degree and win the last bid and then get the coins back in the next bid because other people don't want it and I do. I don't mind it, at least. So it has that mechanic from No Thanks, where something that's bad is bad situationally and not bad across the board. And so I like that strategy of seeing those choices, of seeing the opportunities where a decision, where a card is not equal for all players, and taking advantage of that. And like I said, I like both the screwage aspect of it, as well as just the strategy behind it, of trying to min-max and push the game in different directions. To a degree, it's actually worth going for cards that people might not go for in a color that you might already be overloaded, because it sets you up for being able to take negatives without it hurting too much. And so I like that strategy of the game. As far as what I didn't like, first of all, the art, I'm just not a fan of the art in this game. It has a very interesting feel to it. Nothing wrong with it. The art is actually pretty well done. It's just, it evokes this, I don't know, it evokes a style that just doesn't do it for me personally. Nothing wrong with it, doesn't turn me off from the game, but also just takes me out of it a bit, not particularly my style of thing. Additionally, I don't like the fact that the 3 scoring mechanisms in this game, when you go to the end of the game and you go ahead and you score both for your lowest story, for having your secret objective card, and then for having sets of 3. The whole thing the whole thing really didn't connect very well. Getting your own specific, objective card in each row, in each column, didn't particularly seem that hard throughout the game when we played it. Most of the time, people got a minimum of 2 and often 3. And don't get me wrong, that 1 point matters. But it really felt like it mattered to the decisions you were making throughout the game in terms of trying to stop someone or guess what they were going for, or even if 2 players had the same symbol they were going for, it just didn't really feel like it mattered to the gameplay. It felt almost like, okay, great, we finished, we strategically made our choices, and now let's just count up the points and see who got the most in terms of that aspect we weren't even trying for strategically. Additionally, that 3 of a kind aspect, while present, the fact that you have to get 3 to get a single point, again, it minimally had an impact on the actual decisions being made. Don't get me wrong, again, it is a scoring mechanism. It felt like they had a core game around a good system, a good mechanic that mattered, and then they threw in 2 other kind of side things that matter for sure, but didn't feel like they mattered, if that made sense. It's something you have to account for because every point in this game matters. This is a low scoring game, but it felt tacked on. It didn't feel natural to the flow of the game, to what was happening. As far as what I can see others not liking, primarily it's going to be that bidding and screwage system. The bidding is, despite being able to teach people and get people up and running pretty quickly, the actual process is a little counterintuitive in terms of the way you're putting coins out on cards, the way you're shifting cards out, always replacing it. It requires a round or 2 to see what's going on. It's not really super intuitive, and even though people will understand the rules off the bat, I found it often took a few actual playing, like halfway through the game, before they really clicked on how that played out mechanically and how to take advantage of it in the game. And the screwage aspect is, like I said, for me, I like screwage. I like those types of decisions, but if you don't like being, loaded up with a card that you're going to have to obviously take, well, this just might not be a game for you. As far as my final thoughts on Allegory, I think it's a totally okay game. Now, what I mean by that is while I can't point to anything wrong with the game, neither does it particularly do anything that says, I need to own this game right now. It's a solid game, solid system, the bidding works, the strategy and the screwage work. Everything about this game works in terms of delivering a final experience that is totally fine. I would hesitate to turn down a game if you offered this. I mean, it's quick, it plays in, 25 minutes or so, and it's an easy game to actually get, play, and then see who won. But it never really felt rewarding when I won the game, and it never really felt punishing when I lost. It felt like I went through a sequence of rules, a sequence of playing the game, and ended up with a score. And it was fun because I got to spend time with people, and I enjoyed the game, and there were decisions to be made. To be very clear, there are definitely decisions to be made, which is one of the things I really look for in games. Are there strategic decisions? Are there decisions that are meaningful, that matter? And there certainly were in this case. But it just never felt rewarding. And I can't pinpoint exactly why that is. But again, when I won, I didn't feel like I had done anything particularly special, and I didn't feel like, oh, yay, I won. And when I lost, I didn't particularly care, like, oh, I should have done that differently. It felt okay. Allegory is a fine game. If you like games like No Thanks, it's worth checking out because, and I say this specifically because of the fact that I can't pinpoint something that is really driving me away from the game, then it may well be something that's for you. If you like this style of game, if you like this genre of game, this might be one that works for you. For myself, it's totally fine. I enjoyed it, but neither did it particularly hit any of those, neural whatevers that spark, oh my gosh, this is a great game, I need to own it. And so yeah, Allegory, fine game, worth checking out, see if it's for you. No real complaints about it, but also didn't drive anything home for me in particular. In terms of longevity, something I talk about in my reviews, longevity for this one, I won't be keeping this one myself, so longevity in my collection is, well, I will not be keeping it. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. I hope you enjoyed this review, and check out my other reviews on the other 2 games in this series, because the other 2 ones I particularly enjoyed, and very much triggered those, hey, I want that game. So check those out as well, and until next time, have a good one.